My name is Haile, and I play the voice of Zachary Wilkos. My pronouns are she, her.
Hi, I'm Cass, pronouns she, her, and I'll be doing the voice of Liam Bardsley.
Hi, I'm Chess, pronouns he, she, they, and I'll be voicing Daniel Pritchard.
Hi, my name is Toast. My pronouns are she, her, and I play the voice of Adrian Edwards.
Very nice. Welcome back to Dandies in Danger. My name is Haile, and I'll be the GM this time around. How are we all doing? In our characters' minds, how are they all doing?
Adrian is doing his usual thing, staying at home and drinking and writing now and then and just not interacting with anybody, so his life has not really changed recently.
Cool. Any themes to what he's writing lately?
He does like to write about moths.
Moths?
And, like, the moon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's some good shit. Liam? How is Liam doing?
Liam is about 20% more stressed than he was beforehand, because now not only has he seen the Slua fly over London, not only has he encountered the cursed pocket watch before that was affecting Zachary, but now he also has to sort of contend with the fact that his friends don't remember going on this sort of horrific journey except for Zachary.
This wacky adventure.
Yeah, so that's Liam.
So overall, Liam's pretty stressed, right?
He's kind of stressed, yeah.
He could do with a party. How's Daniel doing?
In Daniel's mind, the most recent paranormal thing that they've done is go to the picnic with Adrian, and Adrian had picked up an antique that partially possessed him. So that's kind of Daniel's idea of normal. That's the most paranormal anything ever gets when he's around Zachary, because again, to remind listeners, Daniel had to trade his memories away to escape the Fey realm. So he does not remember Arc 1 at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just writing some poetry that does kind of have weird church eyeballs, butterfly/moth themes to it, one of which you guys can read on Patreon. And life is kind of normal for him, and if you guys were to mention any sort of paranormal adventure, he would think of the ring that they had seen with Adrian recently.
Sure.
Does Adrian ever read any of the work that Daniel has written, or vice versa?
Yes, Daniel's actually a
Presumably.
big fan of Adrian's work. When he first met Adrian, he was a little intimidated. Because at
That's
this
shocking.
time, novel writing is not really seen as high art, so Daniel kind of has to establish himself as a serious artist by writing occasional poetry and by writing, like, well-informed editorials. But the thing he loves doing is telling stories and writing novels, and that is not really... That's kind of frowned upon. It's kind of like when comic books
for sure.
started to come out.
That's
and,
like girls stuff.
yeah, it was girl stuff. It was like Jane Austen girl stuff, and yeah, he was very intimidated by Adrian because he really admires Adrian's work, but then...
Lol.
So that's why he was so excited that Adrian invited them to a picnic. He was like, he's opening up. This really cool, like, cool in many ways person is opening up.
So then my follow-up question is, have either of them noticed any similarities in their writing then, with the moths?
Well, we didn't answer if Adrian reads any of Daniel's work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, no, I'll say he reads it. He absolutely has no clue of Daniel thinking he's cool. And if Adrian notices similarities in theme, Adrian's like, oh god, I'm so derivative. Yeah.
I think Daniel might notice that Adrian was thinking of moths, but he probably doesn't think too much on it. He probably has a similar feeling of like, oh, damn it, I'm very unoriginal.
Oh,
Babies.
boys. How's Zachary doing?
Zachary is as Zachary does. He is fine for the most part. He doesn't write, so there's nothing I can plug for Patreon.
And there's no outlet for his feelings.
There actually isn't. There really isn't. He lives with Daniel and he sort of maintains a state of normalcy. But he has taken a greater interest into going places with Daniel.
Oh.
So he, perhaps not in a protective sense, but perhaps in the sense that he sees how easily the paranormal can change his life and take away the memories of his friends. And he'd like to make as many memories with them as possible. Speaking of which, there's a party. There is a party on a ship happening. I'm going to start off our campaign with a few notes about what's been happening since the adventure of the boys. Back in 1755, a ship had been sighted out in the Atlantic somewhere. a ship called the HMS Halberd, which is now infamous, had gone out to rescue said ship because it was flashing an SOS signal. However, the HMS Halberd never seemed to make its destination, nor were there any traces of it. Until about a year ago. The ship returned, completely intact, but with nobody aboard. About 60 years after its disappearance and departure. A year ago, from today, it came back. Now, after being cleared by the church, it has been released into private hands. The ship was released to the public after being sold to a wealthy business owner who decided to premiere the ship to the public as an oddity and a curiosity museum. One Mr. Sylvester T. Higgins now owns the HMS Halberd. The business owner in question is a childhood friend of a rather well-known bank owner. The bank owner in question happens to rub elbows with the Bardsleys on some occasion, their family's money coming from banking and all. Liam is encouraged to meet him at this oddity's premiere. There will be alcohol available, as well as a few macabre items of interest. Nothing ghastly, but certainly pieces of wealth and curiosity, and real history. The church's presence will also be there, as there will be a medium, a white witch registered with the church, to perform a seance and contact the missing spirits from 60 years ago.
Oh, this'll go great.
It'll be
This
fun.
sounds rad. I want to go.
So, with all that being said, we start with Liam and Adrian as they roll together in the same carriage. London. The city is busy with people closing shop and heading home. The homes and flats hold soft, warm light that steadily grow brighter as the sun begins to set over the horizon. The streets, growing darker, will soon be empty, occupied perhaps only by the lamplighter and those more inclined to the night air and the comfort hiding in darkness brings. Hunters, special officers employed by the church, can be seen here and there every few blocks or so, walking past the street in pairs. Their eyes keen on finding anything to do with magic, pass over a carriage that rolls along the mostly empty streets. Its destination, the harbor. A strange place for two well-bred gentlemen to be making their way towards, if not for the big event that was to be held there. Liam Bardsley and Adrian Edwards, dressed in fineries befitting them of their tastes. So, we know why Liam is headed out there, and I'm guessing I can fathom why Adrian is headed that way as well. Do you guys sort of want to converse in character your reasons, or... Do you either of you have any thoughts or feelings, Liam or Adrian?
Well, this sounds like it's going to be... Fuck. Sorry, I had a number of drinks already. But it sounds like it's going to be spooky.
I'm rather more interested in the party aspect of it.
Well, of course you are.
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of interesting people, to be sure. There'll be lots of good conversation, I imagine.
Well, that's wonderful for you.
Yes, but, well, have you heard about the case? I was not very super invested in it whenever it first came out, but I was following it kind of, as you like, absent-mindedly.
I've been very curious about it. I've been following the story for a while.
Well, I suppose, did your family run any articles on it?
Yes, probably.
Fascinating.
I don't read my newspaper.
Do you have any insider details on this ship then? Well, I suppose we'll find out whenever we get there.
I'm not the GM.
Liam and Adrian do roll along for a short while longer before the unmistakable smell of the harbor meets their noses. A bit unpleasant, but exhilarating if you are of the adventurous sort.
Oh, Liam loves that salty air.
He loves that salt. No wonder he hangs out with Adrian all the time.
I was just about to say, crave that mineral.
He does. Liam was perhaps a little bit tentative about the spooky aspect of it, but once he smells the fresh air, he's getting a little bit more excited. Like, he's feeling a little bit better about this. Like, it's the real world. He can handle this.
Oh, sure.
It'll be so, like, I don't know, bracing and romantic on the deck of the ship.
Oh, yeah, he's all about that.
Oh, sure. You can actually see that it's already very well lit. Your carriage rolls behind a few other carriages. This is a big to-do party, apparently. No small feast. And your carriage gets in line with the other ones, going at a steady pace until it's your turn to get off. And when you do, you see the ship itself. A first-rate admiral ship, and with the name HMS Halberd along the side of it, and along the very back. She's well lit up in oil lamps, a few torches that actually the church has administered that has a strange sort of myrrh and sage smell to it, possibly to ward off anything that might be attracted to something with such emotional history. The two of you actually don't walk on the deck itself. You walk up along a carpet that has been laid across the deck. Something that ladies and men won't get their shoes and whatnot stuck into.
This isn't authentic at all.
This is a fine first-rate ship of the line if I've ever seen one.
I'm gonna walk
I
off
was
the
expecting.
carpet.
I was expecting. No,
Here I go.
Adrian, stop it! No,
Just want to put one little foot off the carpet.
they've put so much work into this. It's lovely. Look at this. This is beautiful. This isn't as spooky at all. I thought it was going to be so much more macabre, but it's not. It's lovely. Look at this. This smells nice too. What do you think that is?
Do you think I know that sort of thing?
You can hear soft music playing from up off the quarterdeck and flowing gently downwards. A rush of wind hits your ears every now and then, but it's bracing. It's a bit cold, but it's still spring, so it's bracing and it's nice.
It sounds nice.
Before you board the ship, before you get to the plank that goes up to the ship, there are 3 people standing in front. 2 of them are dressed in full church regalia, with long greatcoats, a fashion that they've kept since the olden days, and with a cap, the brim of which nearly obscures their eyes, but there's enough for Liam and Adrian to see that they are staring ahead and glaring, keeping watch for anything that might be considered suspicious. The man in a finely dressed suit bows slightly to you and says, "May I see your invitations, please?"
Right, absolutely. Here you go.
Yep. Here's mine.
He takes the papers. He says, "Very good, sir." And then the church hunters take a step forward and hold out a silver rod. "Oh, if you could," says the man in the suit, "mind grabbing with your bare hand the silver rod for a second? Just a preliminary precaution.
What?
It's for safety. I assure you, I mean not to insult you, but it is a ship with rather macabre origins, and we wouldn't want to attract anything unnecessary onto it. Simple safety precaution."
He's just checking that you're not a vampire.
Not in this AU.
Liam does pull his glove off daintily and reaches forward to touch the rod. He maybe hesitates a little bit, like he's looking at them to make sure he's doing it right, because he just doesn't want to, look like an idiot. But he does reach forward and then he grabs the rod.
They glare at him silently, or maybe it's just scrutinizing, before they seem to give a small, polite pull back as if to say, "That's fine, you're done."
He holds on to the rod and doesn't let go. No, just kidding. He lets go. Sorry.
That's something Daniel would do.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Oh, how much of a vampire am I? You really want to check? Shall I take my shirt off?"
The other one is still extended towards Adrian, and the hunter is just staring down at him.
Okay, fine. So he takes off his low glove and he just grabs it unenthusiastically.
That seems to be enough, and they pull back, and the man in the nice suit steps aside, and he lets them in. "Gentlemen, welcome aboard the HMS Halberd."
Yes, thank you.
Now I'll leave you two there, because I wish to go over to Zachary and Daniel, who are standing atop the quarterdeck, who have already gone through these procedures. Daniel, are you drinking currently? Do you have a glass of wine in hand?
How did Daniel and Zach get there? They got invitations, right? And they were like, "That sounds cool," and then they went?
Yes, Daniel got an invitation, and he had a +1, which I imagine was
Zach
in
didn't
hopes
get
for
invited.
Zach. Yeah. Well, Zach wasn't directly invited, but it was implied that Zachary should come, not for his personality figure, but it is something of the macabre, and perhaps Daniel's publisher is like, maybe if we put
Maybe
it...
they'll see ghosts.
Maybe if we put it in a stressful situation, we might be able to produce some more good content.
Oh, Pip Pip Chippery, oh, yes.
Yes.
Look over that old Zachary of yours.
I know his interests are ghost. No, my curse is ghost.
But yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Zachary has a small something there, perhaps by the food table where Zachary can eat.
Oh yeah, Daniel loves food. Daniel's definitely eating, and then he also has a red wine that he's drinking.
Nice.
He knows that Zach can't drink in public and probably won't want to. So he's kind of, whenever he's with Zach in public, he tries not to drink too much. He only pretty much gets drunk when they're at home together. So he's gonna have like a glass of wine and then just eat everything else and maybe have some like juice or whatever else they have.
Fair.
So far, all we've seen is the quarterdeck, says Zachary looking around. I suppose they won't let us go down under.
Not at all?
I don't know. This is your party you invited me to.
Well, I should hope that they do.
You want to see anything that's going on down there?
Oh, there's 6 levels to a ship, Zachary. And we're only on level 1.
I think I'll stay at level 1, if it's all the same to you.
What, and look at London? We live in London. Boring. If the ghosts are here, they're going to be hiding down in the, I don't know, maybe the hold, the Orlop.
You want to see ghosts.
Well, nice ones would be alright. They'd just be people, right?
Well, they could be... he shudders and he doesn't finish his sentence and he stuffs something in his mouth.
Oh, I really doubt we'll run into anything malicious here.
Oh, those are two familiar faces.
Oh, he wanted to, like, shout at them and wave at them and jump up and down, but he pauses and he's like, and then he sort of, like, gives a small wave and waits for them to come over.
Once Liam spots him, he's gonna bustle right on over. Adrian, look what it is.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Look, you two are looking absolutely smashing this evening.
Oh, thank you. And you, as always, Liam.
Well, thank you, of course. What do you think of all this, then? Zachary, do you have any insider information on this ship, then?
Me? Why would I? Oh, because I work for...
big... Yes.
Yes. You know, the church.
Don't announce it.
You sure? Why can't I say that he works for the church?
Stop!
Adrian.
Don't announce it. How much has he had to drink already?
3 glasses.
Of course.
3 glasses?
At home.
That must have been his dinner. He smiles
Pretty
at
much.
Adrian a little smugly.
Wait, you're not in on this joke.
Oh, sorry.
Me, just me. I'm only in on the joke on me. Wait.
Sure it wasn't full.
Anyhow.
Well, I don't have any insider information, seeing as how all I do is the books. I'm the accountant, not a hunter, so...
Well, is the book... Fuck. Is the boat on the books?
The boat is not on the books. Well,
Why not? Didn't they sell it?
I think it was a private business venture and the church is involved, but
Oh.
no. The ship isn't owned by the church, it seems.
I also handle personal payrolls. It's really not that interesting.
I know a bit about
Well,
ships.
That's right. Oh, do you?
Yes. I researched quite a few of them for an adventure story of mine. I don't know if you've heard
How
of it.
thrilling.
It was called The Black
Have you-
Sails.
Is that the one with Captain Flint?
Yes, the pirates. Yes. That's the one.
Yes. Well, that's absolutely smashing. Have you done much seafaring in your time, Daniel?
As they're talking, the rest of the guests climb aboard the ship. And while Liam is asking his question, someone is ringing the ship's bell, and you hear gong, 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 gong. That seems to get all the party members' attention. The music stops, and everybody's attention shifts to the bow of the ship, where a small makeshift platform has been made up. Someone makes their way to the platform. A larger man with a sort of a waxed long mustache and neatly trimmed brown hair steps up the small, hastily made platform. A round of polite applause sounds as Liam, you know this man, Sylvester accepts the applauding graciously, bowing slightly before putting his hands up and gently waving off their approving gesture. Thank you, he starts. Thank you all. That's very kind. Well, you all know me, but I'll introduce myself in case we have any stowaways here. He pauses for a little peal of laughter that ripples through the crowd before going quiet again.
Bleh.
Of course, my name is Sylvester T. Higgins, businessman, entrepreneur, and now curator of a new curiosities museum.
I'm proud.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you are standing on the very deck of such curiosity. A dark mystery that we can only host such an occasion with the expressed permission of Her Majesty's Church and under the watchful supervisions of their shepherds, the Hunters. A round of applause for these men and their fine courage for being here with us today.
That sounds great.
A round of polite applause rises as some of the hunters tip their hats, but the others remain as solemn and still as statues. Now, I encourage everyone to go off, explore the ship, and let any of the fine hunters here know if you've found anything that might solve the mystery of this ship. He gestures behind the guests, and one of the servants pulls back another red rope, blocking off a porthole entrance to the lower decks. He steps off the platform, and it seems that the small speech is over. So now the other decks are open. Some pass by Adrian and Liam muttering how unconventional and colorful the whole affair is, while others are titillated by the amusement of the place. Well, says Zachary, looking to them. Care to explore? I know this one does, he says, looking at Daniel.
Daniel smiles.
Oh, bless.
We could spend a little bit more time up on the top deck, talking to people if we wanted to.
Who are we going to talk to?
Who would I want to talk to?
Good point.
They've opened up the bottom decks. Come on, let's go. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been here longer than you.
I want to go see spooky things.
Fair enough. Off we go then.
Are you a little scared, Liam?
No, I'm not scared. I mean, obviously this is all a ruse. Perhaps there will even be little
A ruse?
little clues throughout the ship.
Oh, like a made-up scavenger hunt?
Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what this is.
Oh, how
not what I
fun!
want. No, I want real spooks.
They make their way to the upper gun deck.
That's clear with the shopping history that you have. I think your problem is you have too many spooks.
They make their way to the upper gun deck, which already has many members of the party and still more going even further down along the ship. All these places are very clearly labeled. There is a surgeon's quarters on the, I don't know my ship terms, but the bow left, along with the surgeon's office. The operating room is on the right, and further down towards starboard seems to be two more sectioned off areas, and they are the Marines' quarters. Behind them, well, I'll let you guys explore. If you guys want to explore that.
There's too many people here.
Well, that's fine with me, honestly. We can have a bit of a look around.
He's scared.
I'm not scared, Adrian. I'm just a little bit more social, I think.
But
You said that this was a curiosity museum? Are
Yes.
there like weird pinned bugs and things in
Yeah.
areas and like skeletons?
Yeah.
Skellingtons?
Have a look around in some of the offices and places.
Ooh, can I perceive? Can I just take a general perception of the room?
Sure.
It's a very big room.
All right. Boo, boo, boo. That's a nat 20.
Oh,
A
wow.
nat
I
20.
see all the ghosts.
Not a ghost escaping my vision.
You see all the signs pointing towards these different rooms, and I'm going to say where you are currently is towards the bow, because we didn't pick a location. So you are next to all the surgeons' areas and stuff like that. You peep in, and you can see that there are skeletons dressed in 1700 sailor regalia. You do see very detailed anatomy pictures, things that you would normally see in a surgeon's office, or what one would think there would be in a surgeon's office, along with a few jars of something. You can't make that out only because you're not in the room, I imagine, but it doesn't look pleasant. Nothing too gross because this is the Victorian era, but something not pleasant, obviously. In the Marines' quarters, you see a whole row of guns, their functions, what they do. There is also plaques with quotes from those investigating the ship about what they thought might have happened here.
Ooh, can I go investigate those plaques?
You can, yeah. As you step into the Marines' room, you see that there are hanging boxes. These boxes look like they could hold a man and are dressed to look like they were someplace a Marine slept. They are not just strictly hammocks, they are boxes, and you see... Actually, I don't know if Liam would know this about the boxes, but there is a plaque that explains why Marines slept in boxes, and why officers slept in boxes, and why sailors merely slept in hammocks. Is that something you'd want to look into further?
Yeah, tell me more, please. Liam's gonna keep reading. He's like, this is great.
History facts.
I wanna learn more. That's probably not something that his father would have explained to him or gone into detail about, so...
These boxes, which are genuine and were found when the ship came back, are from that time, 60 years ago, and seem completely spotless and clean. They were taken to the exact measurements of the Marines serving on that ship, because that bed would also serve as their coffin if they were to be killed during battle.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
And it adds a little colorful tidbit saying, they did not go quietly in their sleep, so where are they?
Ooh.
Ooh.
How does Liam feel about that?
It's not particularly spooky to him because that's all just that's a little bit of theatrics. That's human theatrics. Mm-hmm. And so he thinks that that's amusing.
The Marines' quarters are dark, lit by one gas lamp that is hanging, and as the boat rocks, the shadows are cast. And as a particularly sort of gentle but big swell sort of comes up and laps the side of the ship, the beds begin to rock back and forth, swinging, as if weighed down by something.
Liam's like, well, that's enough of this room.
Adrian, come take a look at these.
All right. He saunters in. It's a bedroom, eh?
Well, yes, but did you know why they're sleeping in boxes?
I think I can infer.
They'd have to make a rather large one for me if I were to be an officer, wouldn't they?
I don't like thinking about that.
Well, let's go into another room then. Let's check something else out.
I'm gonna go over to Danielle and Zach. Zachary looks up at Daniel. Well, they've gone in there. Where do you want to go?
Let's go check out the What's the butt of the ship called? He would know. I don't.
Starboard?
No, that's a side of the ship. What's the back end? The butt.
The butt. Let's get. He essentially
That
he
fat
says
ass.
he says like let's go check out that cake.
This is so stupid. I should know this.
Boat ass.
Is it the stern?
There's the bow, I think, is the front, and then the stern is the. All right, he's like, let's go take a piece of that cake, and then they go, and he used the correct term, and I didn't. So they're gonna head down to the lieutenant's quarters and the captain's quarters, the dining room and the captain meeting room.
Cool, so that's the back of the ship. Okay, so they're headed that way, and they can already kind of see the dining room. It's set up, it's beautiful, it's where the officers obviously sat and ate, and definitely not the crew. It's all got its place settings set up as if someone were ready to dine there. It is roped off. You cannot go into the dining room, but you can peer inside of it, but only so far. A shadow is cast upon the wall to make it look like a person is standing just on the inside.
Ah, horrible.
But he is stagnant, and it is more than obvious to Zachary, at least, that nothing living is in there. Or nothing haunting.
Daniel doesn't notice the shadow until he's kind of right next to it, and then he gives a flinch of surprise and kind of like a and then he looks to Zach, and then he looks back at it, and then he smiles and points at it.
Zachary gives a quaint smile and nod. Cute, he mutters. Other than that, there's not much to see up here. He turns, watching Adrian and Liam exit the Marine's quarters. Do you want to go further down?
Yes.
Yes, alright. This is quite fun, actually. Learning a lot of stuff.
Not scared anymore?
I was never scared, Zach.
Apprehensive, how about?
Let's go downstairs.
All right.
Downstairs, they are immediately met with the sight of many benches sort of jutting inward toward the middle of the ship. It's very obvious that these are places where the sailors ate. But there are also a lot of cannons, or guns as they called it back then, still lined up in the ship. And there's the galley, the little kitchen with the huge stove and the bit of counter space that separated the cook from the hungry sailors. There were
Sorry, that sounds like the sailors are gonna eat the cook.
God forbid he's the only one that can cook.
We've got to keep them separated or they're going to go.
But they might.
They're going to gnaw his meat right off his bones.
But, like, they could reach over and just grab shit if not. I mean, I've worked food service before.
Ugh.
There isn't too much to see up here, and Zachary looks a little disinterested as he walks around, just sort of at some of the guns.
Daniel looks at the cannons a little closer, and
Also Adrian.
do they still smell like gunpowder?
A bit, yeah.
He tells that to Zachary, and he's like, wow, you can still smell them. And then he touches the cannon and he says, oh, still warm.
No,
Adrian touches it.
it's cold.
Oh, Daniel, you were lying.
It was a jest, I'm sorry.
Liam smiles at this interaction between the two of them.
He's like, oh wow, they're like friends. Ooh.
They hear some kind of pittering-pattering sound.
Ah, rats.
In fact, if they were to turn, they do see a couple rats in cages.
Sorry.
Is that an Adrian gasp?
Yeah.
Was it a gasp of horror or of delight?
You're like, why are they in cages? This isn't authentic. I'm going to let them out.
Now,
Oh, don't.
Daniel's eyes brighten at the promise of chaos.
Ha ha ha, here I go. I'm letting them out. How do
No.
you think you open this?
No, Adrian, stop it.
They're locked pretty tightly
Think of all
in.
of the snacks that they're upstairs. We haven't even had any of the snacks. Do you want the rats to beat us to them?
They couldn't possibly eat all of the snacks.
Oh, they could.
You haven't seen very many rats then, Adrian.
Well, then, more power to them. How do you get this open?
You don't. Why are they in the cages?
There's a little plaque above that explains how bad the rat problems were at the time, and how it seems like how it was odd that not even the rats came back on the ship, nor were there any bodies of rats either. No trace of food, no trace of people, nothing organic on the ship but the ship itself. They seem pretty freaked out, though. Both of them seem to be against the cages, either trying to scratch at the little metal bars, for it looks like they've been hastily put in a crab catcher with no way out.
See, they want to come out. They want to be free. This is cruel.
They do not seem to be enjoying it in there, no.
Liam, you're very strong. Just break it open.
A loud bang sounds from behind all four of you.
Oh, Lord.
Liam jumps.
Yeah, Adrian jumps.
A guest member seems to have accidentally stepped in a shallow bucket and takes his foot back. Oh, dreadfully sorry.
You ass.
Daniel tries not to laugh.
He looks at Adrian when he said that. Excuse me.
Pardon?
He walks away. Zachary sort of grabs Adrian's arm and is like, let's go further down, shall we?
But the rats.
No, who cares?
Zachary.
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
We had rats on my little farm once. It was horrible.
Did you?
Farm?
Wait, you lived on a farm?
Yes, in Wales,
How quaint.
I guess.
And did you have terriers as well to take care of the rats?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Adrian's too sensitive for that.
We had wolfhounds, but also a few terriers for the same reason.
Ugh.
Did you have any dogs?
I had a spaniel.
Well, you know, he probably went after some rats in his time as well.
He was too fat.
They hear the ship's bell ringing once more. Some people in suits who seem to be just hired for the occasion come up to the deck and look around at the guest members and bow politely and says, "The seance is to begin, if one is interested. Up in the captain's meeting room, past the dinner room." He bows slightly and then he goes to a lower level to inform more people where they hear relatively the same speech.
Oh, I don't think all of us are going to fit in there.
Then we might want to go quickly if we want to see it at all.
Do you think it will be authentic? Zachary, what do you think?
Yes, Zachary, what do you think?
White witches who are registered with the church are genuinely witches. They are registered for that reason, so that they're not hunted. He shrugs. She, or he, whoever they've brought here, is genuine, for the most part. But if they've already done a year's worth of thorough investigation, I highly doubt that she'll be able to contact anything. This is perhaps mostly just a parlor trick.
Well, I'd like to go for the atmosphere. Then I don't have to worry about actual ghosts.
As long as it's not
I thought you
actually
wanted to see
dangerous.
spooks.
Well, I like the aesthetic, but I don't actually want to see real ghosts.
As long as it's not actually dangerous. We do have church hunters here, and wards, so maybe it will just be a parlor trick. And maybe he looks to Adrian and he's like, maybe we can figure out how they did it.
Well, alright, but can we stop and grab some canapes before we go in?
As they go up, there are in fact more servants with drinks on trays just walking around for people.
Wow. Liam grabs some snacks.
Was that a sound from Liam?
Is there more wine?
Just this large Irish man. Ooh.
Adrian grabs a glass.
There is wine and champagne mostly available.
Nice, Adrian grabs some.
Many people are already there, women and men all sort of huddling close together as they look at this person. You can't quite distinguish much of their identity. They are completely draped in mostly white garments that hide their arms, they have white gloves that hide their hands, and they have this white veil over them. There are embroideries on the veil of light greens and very light blues, but otherwise they are very still, sitting at a table, almost like a statue. You can see the bottom of their face, but not their eyes. You cannot perceive whether they can see you or not, but they are so still you would almost swear they were a mannequin or a statue.
That's some juicy aesthetic right there.
Spooky.
Very nice. I'm liking that.
This white witch has 4 hunters in the room with them. 2 at the back, 2 at the front, and all 4 seem armed and staring towards the center table where this person sits. There is a wide berth of the crowd so that they do not get too close to the White Witch, but they're at a safely roped distance, as if there was something to keep them safe from. But otherwise...
This seems a bit much.
No, it's all part of the chicanery, you know. But what are they armed with, if I may ask? What are the hunters armed with?
Their greatcoats are parted to the side, and they have a hand on what seems like the end of a sword. Most of it is pretty much hidden in this garb, but they all seem ready.
Do you suppose they fight ghosts with swords?
They're armed with like the Ghostbusters vacuums.
It is possible, said Zachary, to not kill a ghost with a sword, but to disband its energy with a certain metal. It has to be...
Which metal?
Well, silver, but it also has to be blessed, so...
Daniel nods, because Zach's told him this before.
By the other church.
What, by the real church? By the
Like
English church?
by the Church of England.
Yes, they will bring priests over, they will bless the blades and most of the weapons. So it won't really do anything to the ghost except disperse it. Think of it like cutting the wick off of a candle while it's still lit. It just puts the flame out, but the candle is still intact.
But it looks impressive.
Yes, it does. He sighs, but he edges a little behind them further. He really doesn't like the hunters.
Oh, he knows what they're capable of.
This is all trite, says someone to Liam's side, whispering, not to Liam, but to a guest that is currently on his arm, a young woman. It's interesting, she whispers back, even if it is a bit theatrical. It's all very quiet suddenly, and everybody's attention in the room has gone to the center of it, as if there was a very low humming. You can't hear anything per se, but there's a strange sensation, like an oncoming headache, that grabs your attention. The White Witch doesn't speak, and instead just puts their hand on the table in front of them, which is draped in a white cloth. One of the servants steps forward. He seems to adjust himself. He seems very uncomfortable in the room. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For your entertainment, we have for you a registered White Witch of the church here to conduct a seance. Such a performance is unprecedented, and not usually used for the likes of public entertainment. But we do hope that you enjoy it. We want to assure that all our guests that they are perfectly safe, that the church has gone through all their regulations, and to enjoy the show, he says, and he quickly steps back behind the red rope.
That was very reassuring. This is Daniel.
Liam's just frowning. His brows are knit. Did the servant look particularly moist whenever he was delivering that reassuring sentiment?
Maybe.
Was he
Maybe not moist.
Was he sweating a little bit? A little hot under the collar?
Maybe not moist, but certainly shaky. Perhaps
All right.
Perhaps if he were moist, the term clammy would be a bit better.
Yeah.
But he seems to be
All right,
quite
well-
relieved that he ducked under and away from the ropes and is gone.
Well, now Liam's consternated.
These are great words.
Adrian's just waiting.
The hunters, all four of them, simultaneously reach up to a lamp behind them and turn it very low and dim, before immediately putting their hands back on the handles of the sword.
That was very nice choreography.
I wonder if they
The
practice.
hum in the room suddenly becomes audible, and you can hear from somewhere, but there is no discernible direction. The witch's hand starts to shake, as if a small tremor is going through it, before shaking more and more violently, and suddenly there is a pressure in the room. A pressure that builds, and you can feel it not only in your head, but you can feel it a bit in your chest, too. And Zachary starts stepping back just a bit more, but he is also intrigued and keeps looking. The witch turns their hand over so that their palm is facing upward, and a small ball of fiery light forms in their palm.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Many of the guests even take a step back and are quite startled by this, but the hunters give no sign that anything is off. Welcome, says the witch. I only ask that if you were to watch, you remain silent,
That's gonna be very hard for Adrian.
and if you were to leave, that you do so quietly. We do not want them to hear.
Well, then why are we doing this?
The flame gave a weird flicker when Adrian spoke. The flame grows, and it actually lifts out of the hand of the witch, and it goes up, and it gets bigger, and it almost seems to reflect the room somehow, as if it were molten glass.
How on earth are they doing this?
Liam looks at Adrian and grabs his elbow.
What? It's insane.
Liam just smacks a hand over Adrian's face at this point.
And they hear, how are they doing this?
How did they do that? No, it's behind Liam's hand.
Yeah.
They see a swirling torrent of images of the sea, of winds, of clouds, and somehow they hear rain, not coming from the light itself, but from in their head, and they hear, how did they do this? How did they? And they hear a large wave come crashing down, interrupting someone, and they hear a loud cry of several men running to one side of the ship. You don't know how you know they're running to one side of the ship, but you feel your heart beat in such a way that demands your legs to move, running against the opposition of a ship that is steadily inclining at an alarming angle. And you feel the rain. It is icy and it is sharp as it hits against your skin. How did they do this? Someone yells, and you hear another crashing wave, and the flame goes blank, and everything is very still. Somewhere you hear water dripping. I never meant. I didn't mean. I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't mean. It wasn't. And you hear the crash of waves again. They were right there. They were right there. Nothing just disappears like... And like that, the flame extinguishes, suddenly going from a wide, mirror-like shape and twisting itself up until it seems to pull itself out of existence, snapping in the middle and fizzling out. The witch's hand comes down. Windows to the past, shattered but with no explanation. We can't say for sure what happened. Only that there's nothing left.
Well, that was very disturbing.
The hunters turn the lights back on, and they seem at ease, and they take their hands off of the handle.
How did they do that?
Adrian, for the love of
Well,
Christ.
sober, isn't it?
There is once more bells ringing. The ship bells are ringing again. And the servant who looked pretty pallor and clammy before now seems a bit sweatier and a little more pale.
A little more moist.
A little more moist. And he comes to the front and he says, I hope you enjoyed the demonstration, ladies and gentlemen, he says with shaking hands, his fingers all connected at the points and trying to look polite, but with a very obvious tremor. Now you may go to the orlop deck, should you wish, for a presentation by Mr. Sylvester T. himself on the possible findings of what happened in this day. Oh, sorry, ghosts were never my thing, he says, and he dabs at his brow sheepishly and walks away.
He's cute, I like him.
Go have a sit down.
I shall, he says.
I like him scared.
Liam turns to Zachary, if this is like, since this is all done now, he turns to Zach and he says, So that was a white witch.
He nods. He seems a little out of it, but he nods. Yes.
Are you alright, Zach?
He looks to him alarmed. Yes, no, I'm fine. He takes a breath. Sorry.
Zachary, how did they do that?
Magic. He says, looking at him. It's a...
What?
And that's what that was.
That's hogwash.
That's what she had in her hands. That flame. He's staring very pointedly at
Yes,
Zachary.
she held a magic.
He rubs his temples. Let me explain. Everything has an emotional stain on it, from someone's shoe to an old abandoned manor. Everything that a human being comes in contact
My
with
shoes.
has some emotional attachment to it, if it's weak or if it's incredibly strong. That spell that she just performed was a window into those immediate emotional connections. Basically, you were seeing ghosts of the past, just not the kind of ghosts that we know. Imprints, stains. Like, knowing that something happened when you see perhaps a stain on your collar. You know something spilled. You just don't exactly know what the stain is or how it got there.
Liam pinches the bridge of his nose and is like, all right, yes, right, okay, so I'm trying very hard to process all of this. There's blessings and they work and there's magic and that works and there's ghosts and stains and all of that.
Are you okay?
Liam looks at Zach again and opens his mouth like he's gonna ask something, and then looks over at the witch and then back at Zach and then over at the hunters and then just kind of shakes his head and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be fine? I'm perfectly alright, actually, as a matter of fact. Yes, it's fine.
Well, I don't believe any of that.
Well, can't force you to, and perhaps that's for the better, he says. Well, shall we go to the orlop deck then?
I suppose.
I suppose I should listen to what Sylvester has to say.
Sylvester is already there. He is at the bow area of the orlop deck, and there are a few barrels behind him, perhaps for decoration. And there is again that makeshift stand that you saw at the quarterdeck. It has been moved all the way down. He is already standing on it, and he is drawing in the large crowd. They are obviously doing this on the orlop deck because it is the most empty deck, and will hold the most people. He was hoping for a large audience, obviously. And he's smiling brightly. He's smiling so brightly you can see the gold in one of his teeth. And when everybody draws near, some of the crowd seems still cheerful because not everybody participated in the seance. And you can tell the ones who did because most of them are very quiet, taking a moment. But Sylvester is there in good spirits as if a wonderful show had just been put on, and now the best is yet to begin. Smiling, and he says, "Good evening again. I hope everybody is enjoying themselves. Of course, what's a ghost ship without its ghost story, Those of you who have already enjoyed this seance, welcome. Those of you who haven't, get ready. Indulge me, if you will, fine guests, to spin you a tale, with permission from the church, of this ship's strange and curious origins. In 1755, a light in the fog had been spotted by the HMS Halberd, spelling out in Morse code, SOS. They tried to catch up to the ship, but the light reportedly faded in the fog. The ship swiftly sped back and informed the admirals about the distress signal they'd witnessed in the fog. No ship under Her Majesty had been ordered to be sent that way, but there were records of another first-rate ship previously thought to be intercepted and sunk by the French. Mayhaps accidentally have merely been damaged and drifted out to the open waters of the Atlantic. However, due to the mysterious fog surrounding the ship and the previous crew's inability to reach it, it was decided that a few of the hunters of the church would also board the ship to give aid if the ship had run afoul with some demon or beast. The HMS Halberd was ordered to return to that spot and assist where was necessary. She sailed with a crew of 112, ladies and gentlemen. That's 112 missing people. And returned to us this time last year.
And rats.
In perfect condition, might I add, with no one aboard.
Not even rats.
What happened out in that fog? And what events took place for this ship to somehow find her way back to our waters? Well, of course, we've already had our demonstration. If you had not been with us for the seance, I am happy to report that we shall be having another White Witch come next, and as he talks, a few people start giving a sharp gasp, and a few more people take a step back. And Zachary tugs at the person nearest him, which I think is Liam, and points. And there is something white behind Sylvester.
What's it shaped like?
It doesn't really have a shape. It is just sort of rolling out.
Like a smoke? Like a fog?
Yeah, like a fog.
Look out there, old chap.
A fog is rolling out from behind Sylvester, from seemingly out of nowhere. And a lot of people who have already been spooked by the seance start already deciding that they've had enough of this ghost ship and start immediately running out. And Sylvester, confused, turns and thinks, fire? He says. And obviously, his panic gives indication that this is not a part of the show. Fire! Fire! I believe there's a fire, he says. Oh God, ladies and gentlemen, please evacuate to the quarterdeck, he says. And many people are already pushing past Adrian and Liam and Daniel, and some of them even taking Daniel by the shoulder and just like pulling him just to get past him.
Rude.
Liam is feeling a strange sensation in his throat. The fog isn't quite there, but it's as if he's choking already.
He reaches out to Adrian and just like tries to steady Adrian in the press of the people, and he's holding his throat with his other hand and kind of like loosening his cravat a little bit.
A lot of the fineries and the roping and the carpets have already been messed and thrown to the side and off kilter by people scrambling to get out from the orlop of the ship and to the quarterdeck, and they hear screaming as people start panicking and the thundering of footfalls overhead as people are pushing other people to try and get up and out of the ship and screaming, by God, why don't you go faster? And Liam starts feeling this choking sensation even harder, and Zachary is not beside them. Or so you think. You hear another thud, and Zachary has fallen backwards by someone, one of the last of the other guests on the ship, just ripping past Zachary. Sylvester T just pushing a small body out of the way to make his way up.
Daniel immediately...
That could have been a child, Sylvester.
Daniel immediately rushes down to Zachary and says, Zachary, you're all right, you damn animals!
Zachary is shaking and he is going pale, and Liam is finding it so much harder to breathe. It's so much harder to breathe in this second than it was maybe a second ago, and then a second more, and then he's losing breath. He is choking.
He was initially like put an arm around Adrian to anchor him, but now he's holding on to Adrian as he sort of like kind of bends over and sinks down a little bit.
Liam? Are you
The
alright?
smell of the fog is so briny, and it is so salty, and it has a stink about it that Adrian and Daniel and Zachary, and if Liam could breathe, can smell to it. That just smells like sweet, sickly rot. And it engulfs them, and this fog is everywhere, and this fog fills you so much to the point where all you can concentrate is on that horrible smell. The fog lifts, and you are not where you were before, but you are on a ship, and it is a sunny day, and you are standing amongst other men, and you are looking to your captain, who is standing there. Trades have come, continues the captain. And as a result, we are pleased to inform that we will be arriving a day earlier than expected. Let's give assistance where we can, shall we?